Hey, Matt Soseman here, and today we're going to talk about managing mobile devices and the data on mobile devices using MDM, Mobile Device Management, and Mobile Application Management with Microsoft Intune. But before we get started, you're watching Soseman Productive Cloud, the best source to help you stay up to date on Microsoft productivity and security tools and help you be a rock star in your IT career. And also, please take a moment and subscribe to this channel and click that bell icon so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. Well, hey, let's jump into Microsoft Intune and take a look at this.
So what is Microsoft Intune anyway? Well, it allows you to manage mobile devices and even Windows 10 computers and Mac computers as well, in addition to managing mobile applications on mobile devices. Now, it's part of Microsoft 365, and Microsoft Intune can do many different things, but in the scope of this video, we're just going to talk about mobile device management and mobile application management. But before we get started, let's take a quick look at the documentation first. Now, as you see in some other videos, like the autopilot videos for Windows, that uses Microsoft Intune. And Microsoft Intune does a lot of different things. And here you can see on this website some of the different things that it does do. But what I do want to do is call your attention to the technical documentation. When it comes to deploying these products, especially Intune and configuring it, I really don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel and try to go through this on your own. Please follow the documentation. It's actually quite good. It'll walk you through everything from what's new in Intune and all the new features, all the way down to how-to guides. So how to actually set this thing up, how to enroll devices, how to manage devices, how to manage those apps. We're going to talk through all this in this video, but please check out the documentation. It could really help you. I'll put a link down in the description so you can get easy access to this. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the Intune portal and talk about how to configure this. Okay, so here we are inside the Microsoft Azure portal, and we clicked on Intune, and we're inside the Intune administration pane here, or blade as we call it. And so for mobile application management, let's start there first. I'm going to click on Client Apps. Now, to configure this, obviously I'm going to use the Intune portal here in Azure, and then once I click on Client Apps, I'm going to then click on App Protection Policies. And here you can see I already have some policies built out. So let me show you a policy here I've already created for iOS apps. And if I go to General here, you can see whether or not I want to target this to all app types, and you could read more about what that means. Now, if I click on Assignments, this is how I assign it to groups of users. So the protection policy does not actually go into effect until it's been assigned to a group of users. So if this is not working for you, make sure you have it assigned to that group. Here you can see I have it assigned to a security group for sales and marketing. Now, I can drop this down here and choose excluded groups as well, so maybe VIPs in the company, but I'll let you play with that on your own. Targeted apps, this is where I target this policy to which apps. So here you can see, rather, I have it being applied to many different apps. Now, what I want to show you here is Microsoft Outlook, and so we do have it being assigned there, and also to Microsoft Teams. So in the demo here in just a moment, I'll show you what this looks like. When I go into Properties, this is where I go to configure the protection policy of the app. And so if I click on Data Protection, we could start here by blocking backups to iTunes and iCloud. Now, this is not for the device. This is just for the app. Again, this is perfect for personal devices, and it really simplifies the way you handle this. Now, under Send Org Data and Receive Org Data, this is where I could do things like being able to prevent data from leaving this app, so by clicking that share icon, and then Receive Data is where I can prevent other apps from sending data to this app. So again, when you click that share icon from a third-party app and trying to get it into something like Outlook. And so here you can see I have a policy manage apps set to open in and share filtering, and so I'll show you what that means here in just a moment. And there's many different options you can choose from here. I do have an exemption, so maybe if I email you an address to a restaurant and you want to copy that address out and paste it into your GPS application, we could do that here. Although do that at your own risk, because that means I could copy any data out of Outlook and paste it into my GPS application. So be careful with that. Restrict, cut, copy, paste. I could do that as well, and so we're going to keep that as blocked here for now. And I could do a character limitation and all sorts of fun stuff. Require encryption in the app, maybe disable contact sync here with the device itself, and then prevent printing from the app and a few other things. Once I have my data protection policy configured, I'm going to come into access requirements. And then from here, I'm going to configure How do I want the user to actually access the app? Well, I could actually assign a PIN, so when they launch the app, they have to unlock the app with a PIN. Now, this is not for the device, only for the app. Here I could choose to do an alphanumeric PIN, a passcode, number of digits. I can even require their full credentials here to be entered to unlock it. But here I could also disable biometrics, which I think is pretty interesting as well. I can figure out some pretty interesting use cases here for disabling biometrics. But I love this because I can allow a passcode only for my app, because after all, there might be sensitive data in my company app. So this is where I go to configure that. Once I get done with that, I click on conditional launch, and this is where I can specify how do I want this app to be launched. So if they type in that passcode wrong, then I can have it reset, or I can have it wipe the data out of the app, not the device. I can have it also block access after a minute or however period of time when it's been offline. Or if it's been offline, let's say for 3 days, next time they go to open that app, just wipe the data. And that way, if it gets lost or stolen or what have you, we're protected there. Now, under device conditions, this is pretty cool. I have it set to jailbroken or rooted devices. So if the device has been jailbroken or rooted, the app will check for that. And in this case, it's going to block access to the app. That's pretty cool. And then I can configure this here also on minimum OS versions, and I can even scope it down to a model of a device. So once I have my policy configured here and everything assigned to my end users, it's now time to test. So let's flip over there to that iOS device, and I'll show you what this looks like. Okay, let's take a look at that mobile application management protection policy in action here. So I'm going to tap on the Outlook app. Now this is my personal device. My company does not own it, and here you can see I have a personal email account tied to this. So just to prove to you here, this is a personal email account. Now, if I come in here and tap on the home screen and choose, and I also have a Gmail account added here as well. If I choose to add a new email account, we're going to add an email account, and we're going to go ahead and log in here with our corporate credentials. Whoops, if I can spell. There we go. And then we're going to use Microsoft Authenticator here to authenticate my identity. And then now the account has been added. Now look what happens. It prompts me and says your organization is protecting data in this app. You got to restart it to continue. And so that's the app protection policy in Intune kicking in. So we're going to tap on OK. It kicks us out. And then we tap on Outlook again, and now it's going to let us in. Now, when I do this, there's that policy kicking in. There's that PIN that we required. So I already configured a PIN for Word that's also installed in the app, so I'm just going to use that same PIN to unlock Outlook. And it's super secret here, so don't tell anybody. And then once I'm in the app, there's one more change we need to make here, so let's go ahead and tap on OK, and then relaunch the app. Now, once I'm in the app, you'll start to see my Office 365 account be pulled down, and there's my mailbox. So let's scroll down here, and let's find an email with an attachment in it. So here's one from Alex. And let's go ahead and open up that email attachment. And of course, it's in preview mode. I can work with it here. But let's take that data in this attachment in Outlook, and let's try to exfiltrate it. So I'm going to tap on copy here after I highlight it. And let's go into an app that my company does not control. Well, my company does not control the Reminders app. And so I'm going to go ahead and tap on a new reminder here. And then we're going to paste that data into the Reminders app. So let's go ahead and paste. Boom, stopped my tracks. Notice it says organization's data cannot be pasted here. I don't have a choice. I cannot cut or copy and paste that data out of the Outlook or a managed app. It's stuck in the app. So let's take this a step further. Let's tap on the share icon up here, and let's choose share file via. Notice I can't send it to a third-party app. It's all blanked out here. If I tap on more, I can only send it to a managed app, so in this case, Outlook. If I tap open in, I can open it in a Word. That's a managed app. If I tap on more, I don't have any other options here except for Teams. That's a managed app. But any of those third-party apps that are personal, I can't put the data in that app. So there's no way to get the data out of Outlook. That's the point. So if I tap on share again, let's choose save to account here. Let's try to exfiltrate this Word document. So I'm going to try to put it into my personal Google account, my Google Drive, right? So let's go ahead and tap on Google. Boom, stopped my tracks. Save not allowed. Your corporate policy does not allow you to save files to this location. I can't get it out. And notice local storage is also not listed. Only OneDrive, that's the approved location. So as you can see, folks, there's no way for me to get the data out of this managed app. Now, I can't stop you from taking a photo of it, right? But you can take a screenshot. But now we might want to talk about managing the entire device using mobile device management versus just mobile application management. Now, on Android devices, I can configure a policy with MAM to prevent it from allowing screenshots. But that's another story. We could talk about that more later, or you could read in the documentation. Okay, so that's a high-level overview of mobile application management. Now let's take a look at mobile device management. Okay, so let's talk about mobile device management. But actually, you know what? Before we do, I want to address one thing because I'm sure some of you are wondering, what's it like when I want to wipe only the corporate data out of that managed app and leave the personal data alone? Well, let me show you what I'm talking about here. So let's take a look at Microsoft Intune and go into the Client Apps blade, and then from here I'm going to click on App Selective Wipe. And I'm going to create a new wipe request and go ahead and choose my user here. And choose select, and then we're going to choose the device. Now she has multiple devices, so we're just going to choose both and click on select and then click on create. And then it's going to create that request. So let's give this about 15 to 30 minutes or so, and then we will check the device and we'll see if it's actually wiped the data or not off of the Outlook app and any other managed app. So let's give this a few moments and come back. Okay, let's take a look at wiping the corporate data off of just the managed app. So we're going to log into Outlook here and tap on it. And when it launches, it's going to ask me for my passcode. But look what's happening. It's checking my organization's data requirements for the app. And this is where that selective wipe command was sent from Intune. So give this just a moment. There it is. Your organization has removed its data associated with the app. To continue, you must restart the app. To reconnect your organization, just sign back in. So at this point, the data is actually removed from the app, and the app's taken back to the factory defaults. And so if I tap on OK, it exits. And let's launch Outlook again. And that's odd. You're not supposed to see that. But there you go. And so now there's my personal email account. It's still there. It's still intact. If I tap on the home icon here, there's my Gmail account as well. That's still there. So my personal email is there, but yet my corporate data has been removed and that corporate account has been removed. I apologize. I don't know what that one message was. I think that was just kind of left over from the selective wipe there. But as you can see, the user impact for this is minimal. So if I was terminated from the company or I just wanted to stop getting email on my phone, that wipe can be sent, and then it only wipes the data from my Azure Active Directory corporate credentials and nothing else. And so obviously Office 365 is Azure AD, and it would wipe that data. Everything else stays on the app. Same thing with Word or OneDrive or any of these other Microsoft apps. So that's what the selective wipe looks like inside mobile application management. Now let's take a look at mobile device management. Okay, now let's talk about mobile device management. Now, just a quick caution, I could literally spend all day talking about this and maybe even a few days because there's so much to it. So I'm just going to kind of breeze through this at a high level, give you an idea and kind of inspire you around the art of the possible, and then we'll take a look at a demo of what the experience is like enrolling a device into Intune MDM. So let's take a look at the admin portal here for a moment, and we're going to go into Intune and we're going to click on device enrollment. And so in order to enroll my iOS or Android device into Intune, I have to configure enrollment. So let's go ahead and do this for Apple devices. And so the first thing I need to do is create a push certificate. Now this is really easy to do. I walk through this wizard here in the blade, and it will have me actually go out to Apple's website, generate that CSR, and then here I can download it, and then go out and actually create the certificate, and then upload that certificate here. Now, once I upload the certificate, I'm now able to manage iOS devices and Apple devices. Now, notice there are some bulk enrollment methods. I can use the Apple device enrollment program or the Apple configurator tool, And these are great for like educational institutions, or I need to do multiple devices at the same time. But in this case, we're talking just about personal devices that maybe employees want to enroll in MDM so they can get access to their corporate resources. So we're going to ignore some of these bulk enrollment methods for now, but in another video, we'll go through those. Now, I could also go through and configure a compliance policy. So once it's enrolled, how do I make sure it stays enrolled and stays compliant? Well, I can create a policy here for my devices. And notice I have multiple OSs here I could choose from. And I can go ahead and create a policy that says require it to have a managed email profile as an example. But some of my favorite ones are block jailbroken devices. If I'm using a third-party threat protection provider, I can also configure that integration and then choose which level I want to have that set to. So that way, if the device does get malware on it, it places it out of compliance and then it automatically loses access to all their corporate applications and resources. If I go to do device properties here, I can specify the minimum OS version. I'm actually starting to see this used quite a bit because especially with Android devices and even with iOS devices and some of the latest security patches out there like Spectre and Meltdown, I'm starting to see companies starting to use this. And even with Android devices, prevent them from installing custom ROMs or anything like that. And if I go to system security, this is where I can require a passcode to actually unlock the device. And then I can choose which apps are actually going to be restricted. And then if any of these settings in here get changed, then it will automatically place the device out of compliance. And then as part of it going out of compliance, it loses access to corporate resources. I'll show you what that looks like here in just a few moments. But that's the compliance policy. And then once I create the compliance policy, now I need to go through and configure my, my actual configuration policy. How do I want these devices to behave? So if I click on profiles here, you can see I have a lot of profiles for Windows, but let's create a profile for iOS. Now this does require the question of what are you trying to accomplish by doing MDM? So maybe you want to push out a VPN client. Maybe you want to configure an email profile. Maybe you want to push out certificates, configure Wi-Fi on those devices. Maybe I want to restrict how the device behaves, maybe disable screenshots, turn it into kiosk mode, disable some of the built-in apps. Whatever you want to do to your heart's content, it's possible here with Intune and MDM. So if we go back a few blades, once we have those device configuration profiles configured, I can then go out and push applications to the device. So once it gets enrolled, I could push an application. And so here, if I come in and choose either add a new app from one of the app stores or a custom line of business app, or I can choose a pre-existing app like Outlook. If I go to assignments, this is where I can choose how do I want that app to be assigned. This is where you go to push it out. And so if I click on add group and choose assignment type, this is where I could say required, and then when the device gets enrolled, it also pushes the app. When the device gets unenrolled, it removes the app. Simple as that. And then you do have some other options here based on your flexibility. In a nutshell, folks, this is MDM inside Microsoft Intune. Now, I'm not doing it justice, okay? So there's a lot more to it, and in future videos, I'll go through some more of this with you. But once we get the enrollment policy set up, we have a compliance policy set up, we have some configuration properties here set, then it's time to start testing. So let's take a few moments and look at the experience of an end user enrolling into Intune MDM through Company Portal, and then from there I'll show you what the unenrollment experience looks like. So let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look at mobile device management. So on my device here, I've downloaded and installed the Company Portal app. Now this is just one way out of other ways to be able to enroll a device into MDM. This is common for end users that this might be their personal device and they want to get it enrolled. So I've installed the Company Portal app and I've logged in. And when I tap on devices here, in just a moment, it's going to check to see if my device is managed, and it knows now that it's not managed. And so it's going to walk me through the process of enrolling it. So I'm going to tap on begin. Now this is really important. It's going to tell the end user what their company can see and not see. There's not a way in Intune for me to look up call and web history and personal data. So it's really important that we surface this to the end user to help build that trust between them and IT. Now, we can see model and serial number and apps that are installed and the OS details and that sort of thing, but not personal data. So if I tap on continue here, it's now going to download the management profile that is required to manage the device with Intune. So give this just a moment here to download, and we will start to install it after that. Okay, now that it's downloaded, let's go ahead and go into settings and pull up profile under general. And there's the management profile. So if we tap on it and choose to install, type in our super secret passcode here and install that management profile. It's going to go through and install it, and it's going to enroll it into a certificate, so it can be managed by Intune. Now, this is generic for the iOS SDK here that we use. So it does say that the administrator can collect personal data. Intune can't. So just to call that out there for you. But if I tap on install, tap on trust, now it's going to enroll the device into MDM. Now that it's enrolled in the certificate and the management profile has been installed, let's go back to company portal and tap on continue. And what it's going to do next is check the device against that compliance policy that I talked about. And then it's also going to ask me, is this my own device or is this a corporate owned device? I'm just going to choose personal and choose continue. And so here you can see the other devices that are being managed by Intune. And look at that. Now it's pushing out an application. And so Word is already installed. So now it's just asking, can it take control of Word? So I'm going to tap on Manage. It's going to push out PowerPoint. So I tap on Install. And I think there's a couple other apps we may be pushing out here as well that it may ask me for. But here's those other machines that Intune is also managing. Now, this is my lab. That's why you see a bunch of virtual machines here. Now that I'm enrolled into Intune, I have access to the company portal app. You can see support information is here. I do have kind of a company app store there to install line of business apps. I have some notifications here to let me know what's going on. And at that point, my device is now being managed by Intune. Now, if I wanted to restrict screenshots or turn off the camera or anything like that, of course, I could do that with that MDM profile, that configuration profile. Now, to unenroll the device, I could do one of two things. I could either go into general and into settings there and remove that profile, or I can go into company portal, tap on devices, open up the device here. I can see it's in compliance. But if I tap on the ellipsis and I choose to remove device, it's now going to unenroll it. And then you'll see in just a moment that any apps that were installed are now deleted. So you can see there PowerPoint's now deleted. And Outlook stays because that was there to begin with my personal email. And if I go to settings here, notice the profile, it's gone. So now my device is unenrolled and it's back to just being my personal device. So that's a little bit about MDM in Microsoft Intune. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video on the differences between Intune mobile device management versus Intune mobile application management. Just remember, MDM is for controlling the entire device and pushing apps and VPN and Wi-Fi configurations, restrictions, and then MAM is for controlling just the app and the data in your app, but not the whole device. So we'll have some additional videos that we'll link to down in the description around what else you could do with Intune and mobile devices, such as conditional access. So stay tuned. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below in the YouTube channel here, and we'll catch you all later. Thank you. Have a great day.